So we finally have the spoilers for chapter 24 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and it seems as if Kawaki is strong enough to defeat Jura by himself. Now, I will say, this does require some analysis, so let's get into it. So the first panel shows that Kawaki was seemingly able to slap away Jura's hand, and this is purely based on the direction of his swing and Jura's hand going in the opposite direction. And what's very interesting here is that Jura does seem like he's not having an easy time based on his facial expression. But you can also say the same about Kawaki in this panel, because it seems like Kawaki isn't having an easy time either. So I would assume that these characters, at this point in time, Kawaki in his V1 state, is somewhat relative to Jura, but he might be a tad bit stronger, or it could be a case that Jura is holding back still for some reason. Now we also have this panel right here where Kawaki is able to stab Jura using his rod. So not only was he able to slap away his hand before he could do anything, he was also able to stab him once again before Jura could actually stop him. So this somewhat implies again that Kawaki has the upper hand in this fight, but I will point out that the rod didn't actually pierce Jura, since it doesn't show on the other side. Although this could just be the first impact and then it does pierce him. I'm not sure why they would waste 2 panels just to show that, so maybe it doesn't. And I know, you guys are gonna say, but kiddo, of course, Kawaki was able to pierce Jura the first time, so why wouldn't he be able to do it again? Well, of course, as you guys know, off-guard durability is actually way lower than on-guard durability, because the character isn't expecting to be damaged. So this Jura's durability could simply be stronger or higher than it was before. Though I will say, because I'm sure Boruto fans will point this out, but Boruto's sword was able to bypass Jura's durability even while he was on guard. So could that imply that Boruto is simply stronger than Karma 1 Kawaki even though he's in base? Maybe. But I will point out that Boruto's Rasengan nor the Rasengan Uzehiko did any damage whatsoever, but his sword did. So it could be the case that a slicing attack is just more effective against the Shinju than, let's say, a piercing attack or a blunt force attack. Who knows, maybe. And this kinda goes back to my "Is Boruto too strong?" video, which by the way was a rhetorical question because he isn't. The point was that Jura is probably not as strong as people made him out to be, and while he might be stronger than the characters to some extent, there's still some level of relativity between them, especially when it comes to speed. I do believe that Jura might be stronger than them, but he's not that much faster, if you get what I mean. So the characters can actually keep up with him and dodge his attacks and react to him based on Boruto's actual performance. I mean, if you go back to the fight, Jura wasn't able to touch him until he got tired and started to succumb to the injuries that he sustained. And by the way, that injury was something he allowed himself to sustain because he wanted to charge Uzehiko, which by the way made a big gamble in that fight because he assumed that Jura would be affected by the Coriolis of the ability or the vertigo, which he was to some extent, but he was able to counter it, which he didn't know about, even though Kashin Koji has prescience for some reason. But anyways, he made a gamble and didn't charge it to full power. And if you guys don't believe me, go watch that video. I explain in detail and prove that that wasn't a full power Uzehiko. So I do wonder, would Jura actually survive a full power Uzehiko? I have no idea. Maybe. He did get sliced up by a sword, so anything is possible, I guess. I don't know that Koji said that Boruto would lose to Jura in every timeline, whatever, but he also said that he would get seized in a flash and instantly defeated by Jura, which clearly did not happen, okay? I'm gonna hold off on putting faith in whatever possibilities Koji sees because those are, again, possibilities. Now, I will say that Jura is possibly still holding back to some extent. This has been something that is consistent with the Otsutsuki, and Jura of course was created using the chakra of an Otsutsuki, that being Ishiki, which of course is unfortunate in his case because Ishiki embodies the villain that holds back till it's too late. He did it when he was fighting Naruto and Sasuke in Jigen's body, and he did it when he was Ishiki until it was way too late to actually save himself. So we might see a case where this is affecting Jura as well, and this was somewhat hinted at in chapter 22 where he says the flying Raijin, it's very impressive, and then goes on to say it's a bad habit, but fighting a strong opponent like you makes my heart dance with joy. This of course is something similar to what Ishiki said, so you can see the influence baked into the character, aside from him literally looking like Ishiki to some extent. So there's still the strong possibility that Jura is holding back for the Jura fans out there. I'm not sure why Jura is fans, okay, but anyways, there's the possibility that he is holding back. But there's also the possibility, which I would much rather, and it's that Jura isn't holding back at this point, but he isn't using his full power because he hasn't awakened it as yet. So the power is there inside him, but he hasn't tapped into it because he doesn't know that it's there. So I think that would be a more interesting approach in my opinion, because of course that removes the aspect of him just being incompetent and then losing because he was overconfident. What we know for sure is that Jura does survive this fight because based on one of the visions shown by Akashi and Koji, he's in the 10 Tails dimension. So my early predictions, and I could be wrong, is that Kawaki and Boruto pushes Jura back and he then retreats to the 10 Tails dimension. Though I think there's something everyone is missing here is that if Kawaki does have the strength to beat Jura to push him back to the point that he retreats, what happens to Boruto then? Because at that point, Kawaki doesn't need Boruto, and we might see a case where Kawaki attacks him right then and there when he's down and bleeding and bruised and damaged. And knowing Kawaki has no ninja principles whatsoever, so he would definitely do that, okay? And it would actually make sense because one of his goals is to get rid of Boruto. So if he's now strong enough to push back Jura in his current state, why would he not take advantage of this situation to get rid of Boruto when he's currently low on power? Because even if one assumes that current base Boruto is stronger than Karma 1, Kawaki that was able to push back Jura, he isn't at full power at this point in time. So unless Boruto lets the Karma Seal loose and then taps into Momoshiki's power and actually heals himself because Momoshiki does have the power to heal damages, then he might be in a very tough spot, and I do wonder if Kawaki wants that. Because something Kawaki is very good at is driving Boruto into a corner to actually push him in a situation that he doesn't want to be in, which is what he did in part 1. So I do wonder if he does something similar here because he wants everyone to see that Boruto is still just as much of a threat as the Shinju because he still does believe that, and to him that then justifies what needs to be done. And this could actually spill into the entire Age of Shinobi thing because if they do still side with Boruto, Kawaki might see that as Shinobi being weak and useless, and even when the threat is in front of them they still don't want to acknowledge it and just abandons the entire Shinobi system at that point, because at this point he's still cosplaying as a Shinobi because he's wearing the headband and all that stuff. So I wonder if them siding with Boruto, even when presented with the threat of him, turns Kawaki against the Shinobi system itself. That would be a very interesting thing to see. It's kinda wild and seems extreme, but of course we're dealing with Kawaki and sometimes he's a bit crazy. There's also the issue of Sarada because I wonder if they're going to pay off that panel where Jura enters the battlefield and he's kind of looking at Sarada, which they could circle back to by having Jura abduct Sarada and bringing her to the 10 Tails dimension as a hostage for Boruto to come retrieve her or something like that. So that will be interesting to see as well. I'm just giving my off the hand predictions, not much thought is going into this, okay? But anyways, we'll see. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think Kawaki is actually stronger than Jura? Do you think he's just relative? Do you think he's stronger than Boruto? Do you think we're gonna get a fight between Boruto and Kawaki at the end of this interaction? Do you think Jura is gonna abduct Sarada? What do you think is going to happen? And if you guys like the video, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe. And also consider becoming a member if you guys enjoy the content. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.